listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
What's up out there? Hope you're well, and as I'm sure you're aware, this is the Straight to Video podcast. This, would you believe, is episode 295, which is pretty mind-blowing. Very, very soon we'll hit 300 episodes. When I first started around 4 years ago, I was just happy to hit double figures. Then it got to 50 episodes, then 100, and suddenly here we are. I still have to confirm a guest for that big milestone episode, so if there's anyone out there you'd love to hear from, please let me know. Today's show is a really cool one though, and I have to shout out to my buddy Mark Woodyat from the wonderful Mark and Me podcast for getting the guest on my radar. Mark has been a guest on the show before and he's a real force in the podcast world, so if you've not heard that episode, then please dive back. But anyways, me and my wife Jane recently attended the Vice Press Open Day up in Sheffield, which featured some incredible poster artists from across the UK, and Mark was doing live interviews with each of them, including today's guest, Paul Shipper. Paul openly spoke about his love of video shops and how seeing posters on the walls would heavily influence his journey and career. He's gone on to become one of the best in the movie poster genre, with a style that shines light and tribute to his hero Drew Struzan and the iconic blockbuster films of the 80s, but in Paul's great modern style. He has become the go-to for both film studios such as Disney, Netflix and Marvel, along with magazines such as Empire, who when they want a fresh take on a classic franchise, Paul is the guy to deliver. He's had many pinch-me moments working on commissions for some of the 80s greatest franchises, from Star Wars through Indiana Jones, RoboCop and Knight Rider to name just a few. For a snapshot of his work, then please head on over to paulshipperstudio.com. As always, this Straight to Video podcast is proudly presented to you in association with Affinity Photo, an incredible piece of photo editing software which I've been using for graphic design the past couple of years. Affinity Photo is used to create the podcast episode artwork you see each week, and it's an extremely affordable alternative to other programs on the market, so please check them out at affinity.serif.com. Alright, let's dive in. It was a pleasure to chat with Paul all about some of the influences throughout his journey and how it's been finding his place in the industry. So please enjoy my straight to video chat with Paul Shipper.
Hello.
How's it going, Paul?
All right, how are you?
Yeah, great, thank you. We've both got guitars in the background. Rehearsal studio back there.
Yeah, I got drums, keyboard, guitars. One of those things that I've always enjoyed music as much as art, but I was always better at art than I was at music.
Right, do you still play a lot today? Obviously, you still dabble.
Yeah, still when I can, I just pick up the guitar and have a go on the keyboards or the drums in between work, just to get away from work.
You grew up in Manchester, born in the late 70s and growing up through undoubtedly pop culture's coolest decade.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, ruled by what we were seeing from the USA, which would have a massive effect on your journey. But it's kind of a far cry from how it was for us in the UK. We'd always look to America as this like amazing faraway place. How was Manchester for you during that time?
I had a nice childhood thinking back to it, you know. There was always movies and TV and music.
There's always something new every few weeks when you look back. It's like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, a lot of people think Manchester's kind of like a glum place. I don't have those kind of memories. Maybe later on in life when I was like, I'd spend a lot of time drawing and, I wasn't playing out as much. And the weather always seemed bad a lot of the time. Early dark mornings before school and then dark nights on the way back from school and things like that.
That's why we've got so much good music over here. It builds all these influences, you see.
Yeah. It's a bit like Seattle.
Exactly.
The garage bands, because the weather was so unpredictable. You had to do something creative inside. That could be the reason. But yeah, Manchester, I mean, I'm very proud of my roots. Being brought up on the outskirts of Manchester.
Was like the big city a big thing as a kid? Like, did you have to get the bus in and stuff?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, sometimes if you had a good day, like me and my friend would walk into Manchester. It would take hours, but you'd walk. It didn't matter for some reason. There wasn't a problem. You just walk into town, and if you feel a bit tired, jump on the bus. But yeah, it was always exciting going into the city. It always had the kind of a gothic a cool gothicness about it, Manchester. I always thought it kind of reminded me of what Gotham City might have been based upon at some point.
Is it somewhere you go back to often?
I live in the West Midlands now. I still visit family up there now and again, but they're not in Manchester, so I don't get to go to Manchester. But recently I've been to a few concerts, and they've been with friends in Manchester, so I've been going up for concerts a couple of times already this year, so that's been good. So I've got to kind of see the city again, and it's kind of weird because it's a bit like you're walking around town and it's a bit like time travel type thing because it's the same but different, and it's like it just seems like there's more people, and also the shops are all different. It doesn't feel the same. It's the same but different. It's very strange, hard to describe.
You're probably the same as me. I'm from like Nottingham. It's like I used to be in Nottingham every weekend. I go there now and it's like Nottingham's not my town anymore.
Right. Changed hands.
That's it. Obviously, you're surrounded by musical instruments. How was it for you during like the mid-90s when Britpop Manchester had such a hive of all different styles of music?
I was a late starter with music. I've always wanted a drum set. I asked every Christmas, can I have a drum kit? And it never happened.
There is reasons for that. That's why parents say no.
There is reasons for that one. Yeah, there is. I get it now. But at the time, it's one of those things I felt like I could do. And I was just like, I just had this urge. The next sort of thing in line was a keyboard. So I saved up my pocket money and bought myself a keyboard when I was living at home. And I just loved that. I got really into that. And I progressed to a Korg sound module, connected it to a little Amiga computer, and kind of was recording music that way. And as far as the whole Manchester music scene went, I wasn't really into that much, to be fair. I was more interested in soundtracks for movies. I was always listening to soundtracks all the time. I loved heavy metal and rock music. I like all sorts of music. If it's got something good about it, I like it. There's some things that turn me off that I kind of go, it's horrible noise or, that's not music to me.
Did any soundtracks introduce you to bands?
That's quite a good question. Let's see. Yeah, there were some.
Because I always say soundtracks were kind of like my gateway into hard rock, because I was like a big movie fan before music, and the fact I could buy a soundtrack, take it home, and that's taking home a part of the film. Before you could like buy VHS tapes regularly from HMV and stuff. A soundtrack was the first thing for me to take home. And then I'd like hear all these hard rock bands on these soundtracks.
Yeah, it would introduce you to the music that you wouldn't normally have heard. There's so many soundtracks. I mean, the Lost Boys soundtrack was one that I used to play a lot.
How big was the 1989 Batman soundtrack?
That was absolutely massive. That film, I think I must have seen it at the cinema 20 times. I was obsessed with Batman in 89, even more than Indiana Jones. I mean, that came out the same year. I mean, I love Indiana Jones, but Batman was just like something else.
Next level.
It was. And the music, I mean, the Prince, the Bat Dance and his album was cool, but Danny Elfman's score was just, I couldn't get enough of that. Yeah, music from films, it's like films themselves. There's a lot of information in a film. It can open up doorways to other things, other interests, and like, oh, I'd never thought of that. And oh, really? I'm going to look into that. Or, especially something like Indiana Jones, which is historical stuff. You can kind of go, oh, what? And then you find out bits of it are kind of true. And you're like, wow, this is, it opens your perspective to the world a little bit. It's like a window to the world of film. And it's the same with music and the soundtracks to films and the music that they choose for the films that go along with those films.
Are you much of a John Hughes fan as well? Because music's very important to his films.
I'll be honest, I never really got into his movies, which is kind of a strange thing because that kind of Brat Pack thing was right. I was right in that period of time. But I was always drawn to the more fantastical movies or, sci-fi, fantasy, action, adventure. And so when I see a movie like the John Hughes movies, it was always a bit too real life in a way.
Same for me with music and stuff. It's like I always liked the American stuff because it was larger than life. It was escapism. Whereas other people see the flip side. They like to see something that they can relate to directly.
That's right. Yeah, I was more of like you, the same, more interested in the escapism and the storytelling of like the ideas of going to distant places and finding out things.
The video shop, rather than the cinema, was one of your earliest film treasure troves, like it was for a lot of us.
It was, yeah.
Did you have a local video shop, or were they like, around here, we had endless ones? I mean, they'd put video shops everywhere, in corner shops, petrol stations, you'd have a rack of tapes.
Yeah, that's true. We had some local ones. Wherever we lived, there seemed to be a video shop nearby. So, I actually worked in a video shop for a little bit as well.
I could never get a job in a video shop. I tried numerous times.
Really? It's harder work than you think. It's not all like, you kind of think, oh, that's going to be easy. And by this point, I think I was at university maybe, and it's like a part-time job to get a bit of money, really. And it was, it was fine. There was a few perks to the job, but it was quite hard work, actually. Not as glamorous as in your head it might be.
I'm just going to sit and watch films all day.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that. Be able to talk to people about movies all day. No, not really. People are like, what's good? I'm like, well, what do you like?
Is The Bodyguard still out on rent?
That was a popular one. Yeah.
Which were some of the earliest ones that jumped from the shelves for you?
For me, Karate Kid was one of the ones I always would rent out. We didn't always rent movies out, but if we went around to my auntie's house, there was a video shop within walking distance of her very small place in Charlton. There were certain ones that I'd just gravitate to, and Karate Kid was number one from memory what it would be.
Do you know who did the VHS artwork for Karate Kid?
The UK one, wasn't it based on just photography mostly, or?
I don't think the UK one was. The American one was, because you had like Miyagi and Daniel facing each other.
Yeah.
But then the UK one, when you think back to it, it's great artwork. You've got Daniel in the pose and Mr. Miyagi's in the background. But in the bottom right-hand corner, there's this like really ropey picture of Daniel and Ali.
Really?
I didn't notice it till a few years ago. I'm like, that's really bad.
I'm going to have to find it. It might be one of those things that because I haven't thought about what that cover would have been like picking it up, thinking about it. I just kept thinking about the film.
Yeah, go and revisit. You'll be thinking, damn, that's a bit ropey in that corner. The general artwork's fantastic, but there's just this little illustration. I'm like, dang.
Well, I mean, there was quite a lot of ropey movie poster art in the 80s, despite what everyone thinks. It wasn't all brilliant.
How much has Graham Humphries come on your radar?
Yeah, I've met Graham. I'd say we were friends.
His stuff is stunning, man. It used to terrify me, a lot of it did.
Right.
Which means it got the job done, I guess.
He's working. Yeah, Graham's great. His work's wonderful. And, I think he got his start working on the UK versions of some films that were coming out. So they'd be like, we want a quad of this. And so he'd redo something from scratch. Yeah. Was it like Evil Dead or something?
That was his first big break.
Right. And then the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
I mean, that's a great example of like taking an idea and just totally flipping it and putting your own spin on it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was all good. I don't have anything bad to say about any of their work. It's absolutely brilliant. And it fits the genre so well. Graham's work just fits horror like a glove, really.
Someone said to me, it's like you see this stuff and he's like, what's inside that box? I think that's a great way of talking about a video.
That's a good way of looking at it. It entices you like, oh, no, don't know. But that's part of the job, isn't it? You want people to see something visually and go, oh, that looks like something I would enjoy, I totally believe in truth in advertising. I don't think you should be trying to sell something that isn't what it is. I don't like that. I try my best not to do that, but sometimes you don't know everything about the project that you might be working on. So you have to kind of just go off what you're told and hope that it's going to be close to the vision of what they're telling you. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole point is to try and you want people to be able to read the cover and understand. It's like it's same as a book cover or anything else. It's like, you're trying to describe what's in the box without telling too much,
I love the fact you regularly cite Adventures in Babysitting as one of the first movie posters to like really catch your eye. Was that a poster you got from a shop or did they save it for you?
Yeah, that was from a video shop. They saved that for me. That's right. At the time, I didn't realize these particular posters were made by a particular person. I didn't think that. I didn't think they were illustrated, really. I just thought naively at sort of a young age of, I don't know, how old would I have been? I was only about 11 when that film came out. You don't really think of it as that. But then when it dawned on me that they were illustrated, it was like, this is someone's job.
That's an interesting one because, that never happens quite like that in the film. But that's a great way of advertising the film and you don't feel cheated.
That's right. That's right. There's something very special about that design of that poster. And the execution of it is just, Drew Struzan's work is just masterful. It's like an amazing, I don't know, like it's almost... Can't really describe how impressive the craftsmanship is that he has. When you start looking into it, it's mind-blowing, really, that this person created these masterpieces for advertising, for films. And, as artists, when we talk to each other about Drew, sometimes we came to a conclusion that it's almost a miracle that they even exist, the way that they do, in such wonderful the way they're presented. Because working in the industry now, I think it's changed a lot, but there's a lot of people that need to be pleased with the work. And so it goes through a lot of changes. And I think it happened back then, but either Drew just did it in a way that it just didn't look like it had ever gone through any changes. It just looked perfect. I don't know. It's still a mystery, which I'm really happy that it's still a mystery. It's still like magic to me, even though I know how things are done now and things. It's still, I can still stare at a poster that Drew or some of his contemporaries have illustrated and just be taken back to that. And yeah, it's incredible, really. That's what made me so excited about trying to do this for a job, was just to try and recreate that kind of feeling, for hopefully future generations, that they might look at something and just feel even a 1% of what I felt looking at those, if that can happen. And I've been thankful enough that it has happened. People have mentioned to me things that have been very, very nice about my work, saying how they've really connected with it and it's really made them want to go see a film, or, that kind of thing. And it's just like, you feel like you're doing the right thing, you're in the right place, doing what you're supposed to be doing when things like that happen.
I watched his time-lapse video for the Phantom Menace poster this morning when I was looking up some stuff. It blows your mind.
Yeah, no, it's totally, I mean, it's miraculous, really. I learned to paint the traditional way and draw the traditional way. And nowadays, everything's sort of moved to a digital way of working. But I still have all my drawing boards. I don't know if you can see in the background, but I've got my paints and pencils and everything. So occasionally I get the chance to do something, even if it's just for me and just keep my hand in a little bit. But that's where it all comes from. It just so happens with clients today that most of them do want it digital. They don't want the original paintings anymore. And the nice thing is I found a way of doing that look and that kind of style in the computer, and it's still, people they may not know. And I still get the satisfaction from it. It doesn't take the satisfaction of creating something away. It still feels, I've still created something that, the difference is it's less messy, so you got less cleanup at the end.
You don't have to have a wash up before you go for your tea.
Yeah, I don't have to wash all the brushes and clean the airbrush out and all that stuff.
Obviously, being a kid of like the late 70s and 80s, you obviously couldn't escape Star Wars. What was your first introduction to the saga? Was that through video, or was you able to see any at the cinema first time around?
Definitely A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back would have been definitely on video first. And which we had a recording of it. It must have been, I might have been off TV, I don't even know, but it wasn't an original copy. I think it was a recording off the television, maybe BBC One or something, because I don't think it had adverts, that one. And then Return of the Jedi was the first one I saw at the cinema in 83.
Oh, man. I mean, what a thrill is that? It's like you're finally getting to see one at the cinema.
That's true, yeah. This whole time you've been watching it on a small screen, which it didn't ruin it. It was still fantastic, even on a small screen. There's people that think, oh, you got to see on the big screen. Well, it mesmerized me to no end. Rewatching it. After watching it once, I'd probably rewind it and play it again, it didn't matter.
Who did you go and see it with at the time? Do you remember when you got to see Return of the Jedi?
It was a friend from school. 83, I would have been 7.
You were fit to burst.
So his mum worked at a cinema in Manchester, and it was his birthday. So a few friends went around to his house. Then we got on the bus and went into Manchester, and we had the cinema to ourselves from memory. It was like we could choose 3 movies to watch.
What?
In a day, that day. So we all chose Return of the Jedi, Superman 3, and James Bond Octopussy, I think it was.
In what order?
That's really hard to remember. But I do remember watching a movie and thinking, I can't wait to see Star Wars. So I don't think we saw Star Wars first.
You're building up.
Yeah, I think we might have seen Superman first, then Star Wars, then James Bond, I think. I may be completely wrong.
That's crazy. How big a cinema was it?
Well, I was trying to remember. I thought it was Odeon, but then when I told it to somebody who remembers the old cinemas in Manchester, it was one on Deansgate, but I think it was a slightly smaller one. It might have been an ABC cinema or something like that. I can picture it, but I don't remember the name of it or anything like that. It wasn't one that I went to. I'd not been there before.
How cool is that, though, having it all to yourself?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I remember there was a cinema because I was born in West Didsbury. There was a cinema in Withington, and that was like a really old world cinema. I remember seeing Ghostbusters there with my dad. And he used to go to that cinema when he was a kid because he grew up in that area too. So that was pretty cool.
What was it like for you, like in the late 90s, seeing Star Wars back on the big screen with the special editions? Was that a thrill?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't think I'd seen them all on the big screen apart from Return of the Jedi. So there may have been a film convention where they put them on maybe, or did a trilogy screening maybe. I might have seen them before then. But this was going to be special edition from George Lucas. So it was like, oh, well, this is going to be a special thing. And it was really. For many of us, we were all very excited. And I remember seeing the poster in the newspaper for the first time and thinking, because it was for the first one, Star Wars: A New Hope, and it was just that poster on its own. And I remember thinking, well, where is everyone else? Like on the poster, what's going on? Like, this isn't a good representation of the movie. What's this? And it was by Drew, and I was like really excited. I mean, it looked amazing, but I'm like, I mean, this is just black and white in a newspaper, and I'm like kind of critiquing it, like, why have we not got everyone else? Where are the droids? Where is this and where is that? And I'm like confused until I saw the Empire Strikes Back poster like a few months later. It looked like they connected. I'm like, oh, okay.
There's a thought process here.
There's a thing going on here. I see that now. But at the time, I was like, what is this? Doesn't feel like the right kind of poster. It's got the three main characters. It's got Obi-Wan Kenobi and some spaceships on it. But it's like, did it even have the Death Star in it? I can't remember now. I was a bit kind of like, what is this? But anyway, there was a method to the madness. And that then became the go-to for the prequel style of movie posters, and then when it came to the sequel movies, it kind of didn't really work out that way. But, by that point, Drew was sort of almost retiring and kind of decided not to do it anymore.
Obviously, growing up with like Star Wars, what would 12-year-old Paul Shipper say if you'd have told him he'd be doing his own Star Wars posters a few decades later? What would be more exciting, that there were going to be more new movies or that you were going to actually be working on them?
Yeah, it's a good question because back then I did think like that's what I wanted to do. That was the dream. And then to actually have been a part of some movie posters for Star Wars now it is a pinch me moment. It never gets old, the idea of that. But yeah, 12-year-old me would probably be like, whatever.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be like this dream. And then if, say, somehow you got to tell yourself, you'd be like, who are you old dude? You don't know me. I'd probably go, oh, cool. Being part of Star Wars is very special. I mean, growing up with it, it's always been an incredibly gratifying experience to just enjoy those films. And when there was a big gap of no movies, a friend of mine, I'm trying to think how old I would have been, probably, from the age of 13, he introduced me to the Star Wars role-playing game. He would come up with scenarios and it would be like you were in the Star Wars universe. You would have a character, you'd be in it. It was so exciting. It was really exciting, So I was never a big reader. So even though novels came out, Star Wars novels, I never was able to really sit down and read that much. And I was always very visual, kind of watching things or listening to things was fine. But this was like playing something. You're investing in something. It was very rewarding. It was very interesting and fun. And Simon Taylor, his name is, who's a good friend of mine. And he was always very good at coming up with stories and scenarios. And he'd draw things. And he was an artist as well. And so we just loved drawing pictures from Star Wars. And yeah, it's good times, Star Wars. Talking about me here, but I mean, I'm talking about everybody who came across Star Wars. If you didn't like it, it must have been a strange reason not to like it because it was so universal. I don't understand people who didn't get it, really.
Once you were like getting into all these movie posters and things, I know you began collecting them at one point as well.
Yeah.
Was you enjoying art at the time, or once you became attracted to the movie posters, did that actually inspire you to be more passionate about drawing? Did one kind of influence the other?
I was always drawing all the time, really. It was kind of my thing from a young age, from primary school, drawing toys and things off the TV. And I was a big fan of Mask, so I'd like draw characters of Mask.
Fantastic show, yeah.
I loved those toys. They were like absolutely brilliant.
Have you tried rebuying them all since you've become an adult?
I have got a few, yeah. They're up there on display. I've managed to find a few. They're not in very good condition, but I don't care. I remember my mum when I was got to a certain age, Mum was like, "Come on, you're getting too old for them now, and you should give them to your little cousin." So I'm like, "All right." So all my Star Wars toys, all my mask, everything, because he's gonna be at his grandma's and he don't have toys there very much, and so I'm like, "Okay, well at least I'll get to see him occasionally if I go visit." And all right, so I gave them all up, and then one day she was moving house to move to like London. This is the auntie who took us to the video store all the time as well, right? And so she was moving house, and so Dad was like, "Come on, we're gonna help her move house." I'm like, "Okay, no problem. I'm there. I'll be there." And then I'd have thought, "Oh, maybe she's gonna." Maybe she wants to, because he's older now, a little bit older. Maybe she doesn't need those toys anymore, and I'll take them back. So as soon as I got there, I said, "Auntie Barbara, are you still keeping all those toys that I gave for Oliver?" And she's like, "Oh no, I threw them in the bin this morning." Oh, no. So I ran to the bin, and they'd already been collected. Everything was binned.
The worst.
Yeah, that whole day. I felt like so down. I mean, it's horrible.
Thank God for eBay.
Yeah, I mean, also where I moved here, there's a little shop opened in town. I'm like, old toys. Now they've just moved to a little place called Bewdley, a little bit further away, but it's not too far away. I found some real treasures of my childhood there. And I'm so grateful, like just to have something, even a little Street Hawk push and go thing. It was one of my favorite toys. I don't even know what happened to that. And then in his shop, it was there in the box, mint.
Was it like Indiana Jones thing? Something like
a
glow around it or something?
Yeah. It was like treasure, These things that you grew up with, they hold a special place in your heart. And when you feel a bit reunited with them, and
it is a good feeling.
To some people, it's probably silly, but there's little things that you think, "Oh, if only I could find that." And I'm finding them, and I'm able to get them a little. If it was like 20 years ago or even 15, I wouldn't be able to afford to do it. But in this day and age, it's like more and more people are trading in the old things, and you can actually find these things that you've missed.
What's on the wish list? Put it out there.
I'm kind of okay at the moment, but there was a Knight Rider toy that my neighbor had, which I always wanted, which was a talking kit. I think it was made by Kenner or someone like that. And it had a little Michael Knight figure, but I'd never seen that before. I had a remote control Knight Rider car, and that was my pride and joy until I polished it too much and snapped the aerial, and then it won't work anymore. And then that got sold at a car boot sale. I only just found that again. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Did you ever used to try and redraw your own versions of your favourite posters or recreate them in any way? I'll do my own version of Return of the Jedi.
I've got a lot of stuff in my art drawer here from my childhood, from when I was at school. I was like, did a lot of Indiana Jones stuff. I mean, I was always influenced by movie posters. I think even though I wanted to be a movie poster, it was such a far off kind of like, how can you even do it? And so I didn't always concentrate on just designing movie posters. I would just be illustrating people or things from movies. Portraits was what I was really good at. So I'd do a lot of pet portraits and family members or people who they'd passed away and they wanted something to memorialize them at home. And I'd do quite a lot of that kind of stuff. But when it came to a movie poster, I'm trying to think of one of the earliest things. At university, the projects that we were given to do weren't always my kind of cup of tea. But one of the things that came up was our English literary professor gave us a brief, which was to read a book, cast the movie, and do a movie poster for that story. And, everyone had to do the same brief. And I'm like, finally, this is exactly what I want to do. So we all went away and did our things, and we presented them all. And the tutors were walking around looking at everything, and we got together at the end. And the English literary tutor said, he's looked around, they're all very good, very interesting. But he said, there's only one that looks like a movie poster, and that's Paul's. It was like music to my ears, And he's not an art, he's not like a normal art tutor guy. He's just an everyman who knows a lot about literature. And so I felt like his eyes recognizing what a movie poster should be is the exact audience that I would reach. It's one of those things that helps solidify that, I can do this. I felt like my tutors doing illustration at uni, they were trying to guide me towards they were like, no, you don't want to do this commercial stuff you want to do. You want to be focusing more on this kind of like fringy kind of fine art kind of style and, be a bit more quirky and a bit more interesting. I'm like, that's not me.
That's kind of a strange I know that's how things used to be. It always used to be like fine art stuff, but it almost doesn't seem to be pushing you to a career.
No, it didn't feel like it would. I mean, illustration is quite a broad term. I'm a member of the Association of Illustrators, but there's not that many illustrators working as, it's like a different category of illustration in a way. It's a kind of different kettle of fish. And even though it's the same, it's different. It's maybe a little bit more cartoony, or it could be a little bit more just not based on like likenesses of photography and that kind of thing, which is what, I mean, that's what I always wanted to do, is that kind of stuff, and I have that feel. My work was suffering a little bit, trying to please someone with a style that this isn't me. I don't know. I'd want to be composed in an image with reference or, that kind of stuff. And I had this work method in my head of how it should be. And a lot of the work that I was being asked to do at uni, it wasn't allowing that to even be a thing.
Maybe they're just trying to unlock something in you.
Maybe. At the time, I was like, I felt like I just wasted 3 years. But then when I look back, it's like, no, it was useful. It was something I had to do, and I'm glad I did it. It was a time when you didn't feel quite ready. One thing it didn't do was ready you for actual what it's like to kind of deal with contracts and all that kind of stuff. I didn't feel ready for that.
If it did that, though, you'd be thinking, why am I learning this?
Yeah, that's true. You're like, I just want to draw pictures. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think they did try and do that, but it didn't prepare you. And also, at the end of it, you're like, what do I do now? And the only thing they told you to do was send your portfolio to a bunch of agencies and then hope for the best, which is what I did, and got lots of letters saying, we'll keep you on file. Not right now. We're not looking for anything right now. And so you just feel like, well, how do you even... This was pre-internet, really. Unless you lived in London, you couldn't really get any work.
I mean, it was a time when like the movie poster ruled. I mean, obviously Drew Struzan's work has had such an impact on your style, along with, is it Richard Amsel? He had like a similar kind of thing. He did like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And
yeah.
Is it Tom Chantrell who did one of the early Star Wars posters? Was he from Manchester as well?
He was, yeah.
When did you discover that? That must have been pretty cool.
I only found that out scouring YouTube. There's a little video about him and interviews with his wife and I think his daughter, and it was, I mean, it's such a cool little video, and they mentioned about Manchester, and I'm like, wow, I just
like Manchester in America. There's a Manchester in America. It must be that one.
No, yeah, it's not. I mean, his poster for Star Wars was always one of my absolute favorites, to the point of like my friend's bedroom door, Simon, who we did the Star Wars role-playing game with, we started to draw it all out on his door, and we were going to paint it. We never got around to finishing it, sadly, but that epitomized Star Wars, really, more so than the Tom Jung and the Hildebrandt poster, which felt a little bit removed in a way. Chantrell's Star Wars poster was just like, it felt like the movie. I mean, you find out watching this information on the little video on YouTube, which I've got it saved on a playlist on my YouTube channel somewhere. They explain that he actually got to see the movie before he painted the poster. And that, I think, helped make the poster what it is, because he knew what this movie was about.
It captures that whole adventure vibe.
Yeah, totally.
It's a little bit comic booky, but...
Yeah, it had the bright tone, the lasers. That's not in the other posters. It's kind of, you've got spaceships and you've got a galaxy, but you don't have the action really going on. Yeah, to me, it's still probably my favorite poster for the first Star Wars movie.
Your body of work and this path you've been on and been able to create for yourself is phenomenal. You're getting to breathe new life and do new takes on some of the most beloved films, which are part of our culture. And the range of work you've done is so vast. It was obviously a thrill to work on films you grew up on. But have you ever been commissioned to work on any 80s films you perhaps missed originally and getting to view them with fresh eyes, which you've since fell in love with? Like, I remember seeing this in the video shop, but I never rented it.
I was never a big horror movie fan growing up, so I always avoided scary movies a lot because I just didn't like feeling scared. I used to get scared at Doctor Who when that came on. That music, ding, da, ding, da, ding, da, ding. I'd be hiding behind the sofa straight away. I didn't like that. So I've been asked to do quite a lot of horror stuff over the years. So I've had to kind of go, okay, let's watch it.
Time to man up, going in.
Yeah, that's right. Let's do this. And some movies I just would never even be on my radar, like Last House on the Left and Squirm. I got to do the Halloween box set, which was a lovely little job. And Honestly, I didn't even have the film to watch, so I didn't really know. I'd never seen it. I only just recently watched it, weirdly, on Halloween. I think it was last year we watched. I love John Carpenter's movies, so it's just a shame I just never really did it.
What's been the most ridiculous deadline you've ever received? Does anything jump to mind?
Well, there's been things where we've got a meeting with the director tomorrow. Can you have it ready for then? And
Have it ready.
it's not necessarily finished, but have an illustrated version of this done for tomorrow. And so it's like you try your best to please everybody and you pull out all the stops just to do it. That's a long day, that is.
Do you work well under pressure?
Yeah, I quite like pressure. I think if there's a deadline that's a long way off, I'll just wait until closer to the time. And then, this job is quite a bit of waiting. I'm working on a few projects at the moment. I'm waiting to hear back from people. And I'm kind of going, it's been a bit.
Yeah.
But what happens generally, I'm usually juggling about 5 or 6 jobs.
That must be tough. Would you like to just finish one and then move on to the next?
No, it's actually really good. Well, I don't mind working this way. I think because there can be so many changes and people need to look at it and decide if they're happy. And so it kind of gives you a breather from it. And then you can look at it again with fresh eyes once they come back to you and probably agree with a lot of the decisions that they're being made because they're studying it and trying to think, we really like it, but this needs to change, or we need to add this. Or wouldn't it be good if this, or, and the way I look at it is we're all on the same team and we want to achieve the best we can. And so everybody's information coming in is very welcome. Like, I think if it don't work, you just go back a stage, or I think the one you did back then, every time I send something in, it's a version, and then there's another version and a version, to the point where one of my early jobs was for, Granada TV, I think it was. It went through about 30 revisions. It was nuts. The things that they're saying don't seem very...
Someone making a comment just so they can make a comment.
Yeah, it felt like that. And what happened was, and this is totally by mistake, I sent them the first ever version.
No!
And they were like, yes, perfect.
No!
Yeah, so the first one I did, and then it went for 30 changes. And by mistake, sent the first one back to them as if to say, here's the latest one. Is this all right? And they're like, yep.
Wow! That's like a band being in the studio saying, can you just nudge the guitar a little bit? And they just pretend to move it. Yeah, loads better.
That's the same story. And I've heard someone talk about that recently. I'm like, they've got a little switch on the guitar which doesn't do anything. And they're like, all right, just a minute. And then, is that better? Perfect. Sometimes the first thing you do, it's so pure and not touched. But when people start changing things, it doesn't always work better. And then you look at what you did back in the beginning and you're like, it was just pure and right.
Paul, I'll let you get on with your day, but I want to give you one last question.
All right.
I want you to time travel a little to a Friday night in the late 80s or early 90s back in Manchester, and you head into the local video store. What movie soundtrack do you have on your Walkman, and what 3 tapes are you going to rent for the weekend?
Well, we've sort of covered this a little bit. I think I would have had the Batman Danny Elfman soundtrack on. I just adored that.
I love the contrast in the artwork as well to the Prince one, which had the big logo. Then the Danny Elfman one had the
moon.
Moon, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it might have been the first actual vinyl record I bought for myself.
Just a screen grab, isn't it, basically? And
yeah, but it's perfect. It's a perfect image. It's not your traditional movie art either. I think they were trying to go down the road of doing something traditional, and I've seen some of the sketches that were done by, I think, John Alvin, and it wasn't working. I think John Alvin actually did that bat symbol as well, the big gold symbol, which my mum always thought was a big gold teeth or something. She was like, why are you wearing a mouth on your T-shirt? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, it's like a mouth with these gold teeth. Big round gold teeth at the top. I'm like, it's Batman.
I'm never going to see it the same again now.
Yeah, I couldn't see it until I really had to kind of those 3D images you cross your eyes till you get it. I'm like, oh.
Squint your eyes.
Yeah, squint the eyes. So yeah, definitely be listening to that soundtrack. And then, did you say 3 videotapes?
3 videotapes, yeah. And I'm going to say Karate Kid's out on loan.
Oh gosh, that's nasty. Well, it would probably be whatever was available that was the latest movie of that time, which would have probably, Batman would have been coming out on video. Last Crusade, and either Lethal Weapon 2.
Good one.
My uncle he showed me the film Lethal Weapon once, and I was like, really grown up movie, and I'm like,
Yeah.
should I even be watching this? But I just loved those movies. So like, it might have been, I'd say Lethal Weapon 2.
That's a good one. I need to rewatch that because I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
It's such a fun film, Lethal Weapon 2 is.
Yeah, it is. And the soundtrack to that is amazing. I mean, Michael Kamen, Eric Clapton, Dave Sanborn. And I just recently heard about Dave Sanborn leaving us, which is very sad. But yeah, I'm a big music fan. So like, yeah, if I wasn't doing art, I'd want to be a composer, I think, for film.
See, Lethal Weapon 2, I'd like that real photograph poster. You could do a tweak on that one.
I did one for Lethal Weapon, so I should do one for Lethal Weapon 2. It was for an art show in London, the Alternative Movie Poster Show for the year 1987. So I chose Lethal Weapon as my film. There was some art done, I think. They were going to do an Illustrator poster for it, but that's another one. It just didn't work out. Lethal Weapon 2. Yeah, I'm going to write that down.
Danny Glover on the toilet.
Yeah, little toilet roll. Boom.
Oh, nice one, Paul. I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Oh, no, it's been really nice chatting with you. Thanks for having me on.
Big thanks to the amazing Paul Shipper for chatting with me on this week's Straight to Video podcast. If you're a regular listener to the show, then you're probably a big 80s nostalgia fan, so there will for sure be something you'll love in Paul's body of work over at paulshipperstudio.com, and make sure to follow him on social media too. Speaking of 80s nostalgia, it comes in waves over at our 80s video shop in Alfreton, Derbyshire, just 10 minutes from junction 28 of the M1. Not only is this podcast getting ready to celebrate 300 episodes, but the shop is turning 2 years old soon. We'd love for you to come and visit one weekend. Our opening hours are 11 till 3 p.m. at weekends, but please keep an eye on social media at 80s Video Shop for any changes, but it'd be great to see you sometime. We also have a really cool Patreon group which continues to grow over at patreon.com/80s Video Shop, so please give that a look if you have time. So that's all for this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will be back, of course, next Friday for a brand new episode. So till then, please make sure to always be kind. Please rewind and unwind, and I'll speak to you all real soon.